and go live here too. Well, welcome to the 5D Academy of Higher Consciousness. I'm Zarathustra, and the topic of this week is past regrets and how to forgive yourself. That's what we're going to be talking about. Since a lot of people, almost everyone on this planet has got some regrets of their past actions or the things that have happened to them, and and a lot of people are struggling with this. I mean, I personally know a lot of my friends that always they're in their head, and they're always talking about the mistakes they've made or the turns that they could have gone this direction, but they ended up going this direction. And if they went this way, this would have happened, that would have happened, blah, blah, blah. And this keeps going on, which is a product of the mind. So we're going to get into that, and hopefully I'm going to put some light on it, and hopefully it's going to help you to come to some kind of resolutions and self-forgiveness. As always, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a meditation. Our meditation is going to be around 20 minutes, half an hour maybe. We'll see where it's going to go. So let's just relax, take a deep breath, and kind of kick back and chill out and allow meditation to come to you. And one of the easiest ways is if you follow the stream of your thoughts, if you bring your attention inwards and you look at your thoughts instead of trying to stop them, simply become aware of your thoughts and follow your thoughts to their very source. See where they come from. And then as you do that, your mind will go blank. You'll dive into the silence. However, if you have a hard time doing that, what you can do is you can bring your attention to your breath and observe your breath and focus on your breath. And slowly, slowly, your mind become quiet. So go ahead, take a deep breath and dive into your meditation. Slowly, slowly come back. Nice deep meditation, deep silence. When you go in such deep, quiet place inside yourself, then it's very difficult to talk because everything becomes so quiet, so still, and speaking becomes actually annoying. So we all have our own regrets. We've done things in the past we're not proud of, or made decisions that or appears to lead us in a certain way. Most human beings who haven't worked on themselves and they don't have an awareness of these teachings, they are always living in this state of regret and self blame. And basically, this story keeps going on and on and on. It never ends. It's always gonna go. And the mind keeps coming back and recreates the story over and over again. So when you are working on yourself and getting trained and coming across this teachings, then a part of this teaching, it forces you and requires you to pay attention to your mind, paying attention to all the blah 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 that is that the mind creates, the noise that it creates. And that's a part of the self work that we're working on, is to identify this, to become aware what the mind does, what kind of games is going to be playing with you. It's going to take you back to the past. And you're going to hear this voice in your head telling you that you did this, you did that, or other people did this or did that to you. And you could have done this or you could have done that. All you have to do is just look inside yourself and pay attention. And you hear it. You see it very clearly. The story that keeps going on and on and on and on. And as long as you think you're a person separated from the source, capable of making your own decisions, then this story is going to be there. It's true. It's real. And it's going to be haunting you all of your life. And it creates suffering until the point that you come to the realization that there is no individual, separate person capable of making its own decisions. Then you cannot be free. Once you start to realize that and live it and keep it at your focal point of recognizing it, that there is something else that makes the decisions for everybody, then you slowly start to free yourself from the spider web. But this teaching and this way, it's not a system or a teaching to give you license for being reckless or being an asshole or just do whatever you want to do. I mean, and tell yourself, well, I'm not behind the wheel, therefore I'm just going to have this kind of behavior and it's all excused. Because for every action that takes place, there's a reaction in life. So life reacts to it. So, yeah, it's true that there is no individual being capable of doing their own thing independently, but and they're being run by the source. But then there's also simultaneously there's the reaction, there's a reflection of whatever we do. There's the cause and effect, and something happens in results of what you're doing, whether that thing is favorable or not. So there's this appearance constantly happening, no matter what you do. And quite often people think that if they come to this realization, it gives them a sort of a power to be able to manipulate life so things can go their way. But that's not how it works. This understanding is not a system of manipulation to be able to get an edge over other people on life or on life. It's basically the understanding at its depth brings peace, inner peace. and it leads you to a resolution of a deeper understanding of the greater part of yourself. That in fact, every single decision you've made, every action that you've been involved in your life was completely a part of the will of totality. It was a part of the will of consciousness. And it could have not been any other way. You could have not done anything else. And the people around who reacted to it could have not done anything else rather than reacting to whatever happened. And as you start to understand that, then when the mind comes and goes back into these past stories and regrets, then the understanding kind of becomes like water on fire. And slowly, slowly takes you into liberation. Slowly, slowly reveals something we may call self forgiveness. It takes time. It's not an overnight thing. You slowly, slowly get prepared and be taken in that direction. And requires focusing on it, requires paying attention, not being reckless or sleepy. If you want to come to that understanding, if you want to come to that freedom. And then there may be like glimpses of it. There may be moments like periods that you get it. And then something may trigger you, and then the mind comes back. And it becomes like an avalanche of guilt and thoughts pouring in. So again, you just have to come back into the source, come back to the understanding, the realization that there is no free will. It's just that which is operating the world is willing through you and everybody else. So it cannot be nothing can be any other way, no matter what. It's just exactly the way it needs to be unfolded. That's how it works. And that's a tough pill to swallow for many, many people. As simple as it is, it's also extremely difficult. It's a paradox. It's one of the most simple things and most difficult things in life. Coming to this understanding and living it, because you have to also live it. Just understanding it is not enough. You have to live it. And as you're going forward, if you're willing to look inside, and you go deeper, and then you start to see the crooked or twisted part of yourself, the twistedness, the dark side, the craziness, of inside your own mind. You have to encounter that and look at it. And quite often, people, that's a part nobody wants to deal with. So it's very easy to blame things on other people and just look away and just tell yourself that, hey, I don't have any problems. It's it's my ex, it's my kids, it's my parents, it's the society. It's not really me, because you just don't want to look at the dark. But you have to look at it. There's no way out. And if you don't want to look at it, existence creates a situation that forces you to look at it, even though it's the existence itself doing it. So it's complex in some ways, yet it's simple. Because it's basically an everyday work. Every day you have to come back into the center. Every day you have to come back to this place. You have to be reminded that every time you come to point zero, you come back to your center and you're here in this place. All the stories disappear, everything goes away, and you're in the purity of yourself. But the moment you just come back, you open your eyes and you come back out of it and you go back into the world of the mind, and you come back into the Maya, you come back into the illusion, and then you get identified with the story. And primarily is your own story, the me story, and everything else comes with it. Did I confuse you? No? Any comments, questions? And then we'll go on from there.
So what you are saying is that we don't have a free will, and
Okay.
we do what we are meant to do.
Say that again.
You're back to the fact that we do not have a free will, and so what we are doing, we are meant to do. We
Exactly.
can't
Exactly. The free will is just an illusion. It just does not exist.
But if I do something wrong, terribly wrong, then I cannot be punished.
Yeah.
I have to do it.
Yeah. If you do something, if you get on your car today, and you are reckless and you run over someone, you kill someone, you will be punished.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I had to do it because it was meant to be.
Exactly. You could have not done anything else. Something made you get in the car and you're playing with your phone, texting while you're driving, and you run over someone and you kill him.
Mm.
And as a result, society will punish you. If the understanding is there, you know that neither you nor what happened could have been any other way. So you're still going to the prison and do your prison sentence. For 10 years you're in jail, for example.
Okay.
But you know this was a part of your karma, and there
Mm.
could not be any other way. This was exactly what was going to happen.
Mm. That's
It was already written.
well, that would be a relief.
Yeah, it is. Understanding it is a relief, but still your body has to go to prison and spend 10 years in jail.
Mm.
Same as any other decision you've made that it did result in something very positive. Let's say you went and 5 years ago, you went and put $100,000 in Bitcoin. You bought your Bitcoin for 5 grand, and now it's $68,000. And now you're patting yourself that, oh, wow, I did so well. That too was meant to be exactly the way it was. It could have not been any other way. And yet, in the meantime, you may say, oh my God, this is very scary because what if tomorrow I go kill somebody? Existence can take you in that direction and kill someone. Yeah, it happens. It's deep understanding of the absolute. That's why I say, and I've said it many times before, this teaching is not for everybody. You have to come to a spiritual maturity in your karmic will to be ready to absorb and understand this teaching and live it. This is not something that everyone is ready for it or they can take it, because it's at the very end of the spiritual development of somebody to come across it and to to abide by it, to dive into it, and to immerse themselves into it. Most people on the planet, they cannot and not ready to accept this. They completely deny it. What do you mean I can't choose? What do you mean I'm not powerful? What do you mean that it's not my own will? But if you look back at your past, how you come to this point, and how many times in your life you wanted to do something else in your life, you had desires, aspirations to become a musician, go to medical school, to go travel around the world, um, become an artist, become a engineer, and then you end up being a housewife with 3 kids in a small town. and you ended up doing something completely opposite of what you really didn't want to do. You didn't want to follow your parents and grandparents and a traditional style. That's not what you wanted. All your life, you wanted to follow your dream of becoming a musician or dancer or artist or going to medical school or whatever is the story. And you never did that. You ended up being a mom with 3 kids. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but look at it. Look back at your life, and you're going to say, oh my God, what happened? How did I end up here? This is not what I wanted, but I ended up here. That was not my idea. And you go back and look at it and see, just examine it, examine your life. Whatever you're struggling with, look at that thing. What am I struggling with? I'm struggling with I'm mad at myself, why I'm not smarter, why I'm not more successful, how come I don't have my love in my life, why am I divorced at this age, why am I lonely, how come I always hate myself, I ended up growing up with parents that were abusive. Whatever the story, look at that. Why did I cheat on my husband or my wife? Why did I fall in love with somebody and left everything? Or I didn't leave everything? What an idiot I am. I had the opportunity to leave my partner and that getting out of this rotten relationship and go live my life freely, and I never did it because I was afraid. Or vice versa. I had this amazing relationship, amazing marriage, and I was stupid to leave it. And I met this guitar player and I left everything and I went to Bali with him, but I gave up everything. And then after a year, that relationship didn't go anywhere. And I ended up being all alone on myself and broke. And now I lost my youth. And here I am. There's all kinds of scenarios, and it's happening every single day continuously to different people, all of us on the planet, constantly. So your job is that pay attention to your mind is going to come and punish you. And if you're dedicated on the path to freedom, is again every time bring yourself back into the center and remembering again that you have no free will and nobody else has free will. It's an illusion. So you could have not done it any other way, neither could they. But you can try. That doesn't mean you cannot try. I want to start a diet because I want to lose some weight. So I'm going to start tomorrow. So tomorrow comes and I start my day with a big breakfast and I don't do it. Then I try again and I try again. And one day I succeed. This teaching, this understanding doesn't mean you should not try to improve your life and to change or break a bad habit. I'm continuously trying to do it, improving things and breaking my nasty habits. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, this teaching is not about feeling depressed and say, oh my God, there's nothing I can do to improve my life because it's already written. No, while you have the understanding, yet in the meantime, you try with this intention and understanding that it's the existence that's operating through you. So if existence wills it, things starts happening. I see it every day. Like the other day, one of my old students asked me, how's it going? Are you still doing healing or what are you doing in Los Angeles? Friend from Denmark asked me. I said, I haven't done any healing work for 3 years. It's been almost 3 years. I barely put my hands on anybody, maybe once or twice a year. How come you're not doing that? I go, it's not happening. I don't feel like it. The healing energy is here, but I just don't feel like telling anybody I'm a healer. I don't feel like putting my hands on anyone. I don't feel like taking any clients. I don't feel like teaching it. I don't have it. It's not there. And then for 10, 12, 13 years, especially when I was working professionally coming to Europe or in the US, there was this energy that was like I was possessed. Continuously, I was working, going to workshops, seminars, conferences, this country, that country. And now all of a sudden, I mean, not suddenly, but now it's not there. It's just not happening. It may come back. I don't sit down and worry about it. When it comes back, it's bigger than me. And when it was happening, it wasn't me who was healing anybody, it was existence healing people. I knew it then. And now, if it's not happening, it's not happening. And if it wants to happen, it will do it. All of a sudden, it comes, the energy is there, and the people who need the healing, they appear on your way. They show up. The healer appears, and the one who needs to be healed appears. They both appear. But I don't sit down here and mind boggle with it and blame myself or feel guilty or feeling like my life went to waste and all the work I've done all this 10, 12 years, it's been a waste. I don't i don't think that way. and so many other decisions, so many so-called wrong decisions that I've made in my life. I could have not done it any other way. This was exactly what it was. It had to be that way. It was my destiny. And it's like a book. You're just going to the pages of this book. So you got this book, and and this is your life. It's already written. It's printed. So you got your book, and you're just going through your book, and I'm probably somewhere here. This much of the book is gone and this much left. So every day you are reading one page of your own life, the book of your life. We don't know where it's going to go. You have to read it all the way to the end. Means you have to live this life all the way to the end. At the end, you look back and you can sort of judge the book. Was it a good book or a bad book, or boring or fun or exciting or not? And I know for a lot of you, or a lot of people around the world, it's a tough pill to swallow. I understand. I get it. I completely understand that it's very difficult for a lot of people to get it. And I have no intention on convincing anybody. It's not my job to convince anyone to agree with me, to buy it. I'm just doing my part. And this is a part of the part of my life that I don't have a choice. And a part of not having a choice is, for now, every Wednesday, I broadcast. And this can easily end. As easily as it's happening, it can just not be happening. Because it needs a lot of cooperation of existence for it to happen. We all know last year when I was in, or 9, 10 months ago, I was in Tulum. For a few months, it was almost impossible to do the academy because of my where I was living, the noise, the internet. It was so difficult to broadcast. It was a struggle. And now I'm back here and I'm at my own studio. It appears to be it's a lot easier. A lot of things cooperating. The internet, the space, the body, everything's cooperating. Is saying yes. See it that way. Begin to recognize it and live with it. Shift your point of view into this bigger picture. Start looking at it from that point of view, and then you will see something starts to shift. The quality of your life begin to change. Something takes over. Something reveals itself to you. Anyone else? That was a good question. I'm glad you asked me, Marit. Yeah, go ahead.
So then we don't have to worry about nothing then, just live in the moment and just breathe and trust. As simple as that.
Well, if you can not worry, yes. If that's something you can do.
Yeah.
But try not to worry either and
Mm.
see if you can. You
Thank
leave
you for the
Yeah,
reminder.
you leave your car somewhere a little bit not good, you didn't park it well or you double parked it. You got your flash on, or now you got to go inside, a store to get something, and you want to, and now the whole time you're worried about the car, you're going to get a ticket. Or try not to worry. See if you can do that, because that's also a product of the mind.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say these things, but when it comes to living it, it's not. It's That's why it takes time, years of paying attention to become aware of it. And so it slowly starts getting incorporated in your life. So you don't buy things. You start hearing all these things on the news about the world. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. Blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm saying. You begin to disengage from it. It takes time. You disengage of the stories. So slowly, you're just working on yourself by not getting involved in the stories, whatever the stories, whether the story of your own mind or the story of the world or the story of other people. You hear it, you sense it, you experience it, but you train yourself not to get engaged. And of course, in the beginning, it's easier not to do that with other people, but you have to learn how to do it with yourself. And let me remind you something, it's different than being in denial. I'm not talking about living in denial. So I hope you're not mistaking it with that. Go ahead. Yeah, Maya.
Yeah, it's like the self forgiveness, the ability to really forgive myself is sort of the key to this change. And it's really rough because we really need to, yeah, be able to forgive everything that was orchestrated.
Yeah, the realization, it starts with this realization that there is no free will. It begins with that. So if you start to work on that there is no free will, nobody has any free will, which is a tough thing to do, because the trend of spirituality, what's being taught, is completely opposite of this, what I'm talking about. So you're against a big mentality and the teaching of spiritual teaching, no spirituality right now, that it's all about that you have free will and you can create your own reality and the intention and blah 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 blah. Okay, so you gotta get away from that, and you have to come back here and you say, for example, let's say you're starting, you want to start now. Okay, you say, you know what, I'm gonna go with this teaching for a while. And this teaching is not even Zarathustra's teaching. This is not my teaching. This teaching has been around for thousands of years. It's ancient. But let's say, you know what, I'm going to give this a try for 1 month. Okay? It's okay. You can still go to the church. You can still go to your meditation. You can still do whatever you have to do. But I'm going to give this 1 month of try, for example. So I'm going to live based on that. So when this guilt comes, that you feeling guilty because of whatever you did or you did not do. So you have to identify the thought, because where is the guilt? It's not an object. It's not like all of a sudden you got an object here. It's a thought going through your mind that I screwed up. And that happens. I mean, I have these thoughts all the time that I screwed up. I should have done that. And when you start noticing, identifying a thought in your mind telling you you've screwed up, so you just acknowledge that a guilt, whether it's a thought or a feeling, it doesn't matter, whichever comes first, egg or the chicken. So a thought comes that I screwed up, then the emotions comes, you feel bad. You identify it and you acknowledge it, that the feeling of guilt is here. You don't tell yourself, I feel guilty. You tell yourself, feelings of guilt are here visiting me. So you have identified the guilt. We're not in denial. This is not about denying it. It doesn't exist. No, go away. No, no. You experience the feeling of guilt, but you remember who you are. You know your seat. Your seat is the awareness. The job of the awareness, the witness, is simply witnessing what's coming and what's going. So in that moment, you're acknowledging that the guilt is here and you experience the guilt. Feel guilty, feel it, but don't identify it as who you are, because you're a lot greater than a feeling. You're the awareness of the feeling, but you're not the feeling. So feel the guilt, but acknowledge it as a passing emotion, and the guilt will go away. And when the guilt goes away, what's left? What's here? The awareness remains here. Maybe something else comes. Maybe joy comes. Maybe sadness comes. Whatever. So you have identified that you're feeling guilty for an action you have done or haven't done in the past. And you remind yourself that you don't have free will. You could have not done it any other way. And then you slips away. So you start working on yourself every day. And what happens is you're falling back in the truth of who you are. And the truth of who you are is not just this human being so needy with an ego bigger than the world. You are the awareness of it. So you're falling back from being here really hands on and always working on emotions and trying to fix your emotions, you're kind of letting go of this wheel, and you're kind of relaxing, you're pulling back. There's a small separation takes place. And as you're pulling back into the surrender that this is the will of existence, I was born, this is how existence wants me to look like, this is my height, this is my color, these are my abilities, this is my voice, this is my hair. You're starting surrendering to the truth of who you are. And in that surrender, that acceptance, all of a sudden space opens up. There's a space open up in between. That space reveals that existence is full of infinite possibilities. Infinite, anything is possible to happen. So you're in this state, place of the witness, and not getting involved with the mind story, whatever it is. I should have been here. I should be doing a lot better. I mean, you know how many times in my spiritual career the thought comes for me like, what the hell, after all these years, I'm nowhere. I'm still here. How come I'm not in the big stage? How come my audience is not 10 times bigger? All these other people, they're there and there. These thoughts come, and then self-blame comes. But I just don't buy it. I don't buy any of it. It doesn't change my status, but I don't buy it because I know exactly this is where I'm supposed to be. I cannot be anywhere else. If totality of life wills it for me to be on big stage or be in a different position in life, it would happen like this. It doesn't require any effort from me. Similarly to having 5 near-death experiences that miraculously all 5 times I lived. It wasn't because of my free will. I was almost dead in the water and they dragged me out. I didn't try to get out of the water to save myself. I couldn't get out. And in the last moment, something pulled me out. I'm in a car accident rolling down the hill 7 times. I should have been dead. There's no reason. Millions of people were in a car accident that rolled down the hill and they died, or they were disabled or paralyzed. What's the difference between me and them? What makes me special that I don't die and somebody else dies? Am I better? I don't look at it that way. It was just grace. Something wants this dude to live. I don't know why. I don't make any stories. Oh, this is my karma. I haven't fulfilled my destiny. I am da 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 da. I don't make any stories out of it. It's just thank you. I'm still here and I'm provided and I'm taken care of. And I don't think I've done anything to deserve it because I'm an ordinary man like everybody else with all desires that a man has. I don't attribute anything special to it. The only maybe difference between me and somebody else is because the awareness has come. I know who I am. But that doesn't give me any power to manipulate create things to go my way. So back to what we were talking about is it's your job is to identify that, to recognize that the guilt is here and not fall back into this pattern, because it's a very similar, very familiar pattern to fall back into it and feel sorry for yourself and da 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 da, da and I'm this, I'm poor, I'm bad, and I'm disabled, da 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 da. You need to identify the story at one point and stop identifying with it. And then you start feeling free. But the mind is not going to leave you alone. The mind is always going to come after you. It's its job. But the more you're aware of it, the less affected you become, and the more you start to become free of it, and eventually the mind becomes quiet. That was my experience. It started to lose its grip. I hope my answer helped you. Hi, Samir. Nice having you with us. Thank you for joining in. Mhm. Any other questions? Anyone? See how much time we got. Hold on a moment. Yeah. That's why we speak about being quiet, silence. That's why this teaching is so focused on no thoughts. The more you're quiet inside, the less thoughts you have, the further, the more you're coming to liberation. And this whole thing about having free will, of not having free will, that too, it's also a concept. Everything I'm speaking about is a concept. And anything that anybody else talks about is a concept. So we have to talk about it to explain things, but that's not the truth. The very truth is you cannot speak about it. It's like earlier today when we were in deep silence. How do you explain that? For 40 minutes, we went into this deep, still, and silent place. And we went into this place of expansion. And you lose yourself into that. So, nothing that I speak or anybody else teaches, whether it's an opposite kind of a teaching to what I'm teaching, it's all pointing, referencing, it's pointing out. It says go that direction. Now, we're looking at my finger. So when I'm speaking about whatever I'm saying, it's the finger. I'm not This is not the truth. It's saying go that direction. And the direction I'm referring to is inner silence, coming to absolute silence. Means no thoughts, no more mind. And when you come to that place that there is no more mind, then it explodes. Because it's an unspoken truth that is there, that you come across it, which is the truth of who you really are, not who you think you are. Because who I think I am is this. So this comes with all its limitations and needs and desires. But who I really am, it's needless, limitless. And that you touch it when you're quiet. And every human being on this planet touches that because it's the truth of everybody. Whether they're aware of it or they're not aware of it, it doesn't matter. It's the very underlying fabric of existence. Silence, presence, love. These are different words. That which is always here. So the goal of these teachings and this Wednesday Academy is to help you recognize that part of yourself, to touch that part, to come to that. And every single time that you come to that, you're like, oh my God, Zarathustra, this was so amazing. Wow, I love it. Yeah, because it's yourself, because you're touching yourself. I am not giving anything to you because it's not mine to give to anybody. It's your own self, it's your holy self that is here. You're experiencing your divine self. So it's 11:48. Any other questions? I think we have time for another question or comment. Right. Nice to see you all. Hopefully, we'll see you next Wednesday.
And thank you
Yeah, you're welcome.
for talking.
Yeah, well, thanks for the topic. I actually this morning went through your email and looked at the list of the topics you'd send me because I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna. I don't
Don't
know,
be busy.
huh?
You'll be busy.
I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about today, so I said, okay, let me check Marit's emails, and then I went through a few different things you had sent me, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk about this one. I tried to think about it last night, but it just wasn't happening. This morning, at one point, I thought maybe I talk about nothing. Maybe we just have the academy. We're just gonna sit there and don't say anything for 2 hours. This academy is gonna be about nothing. So
I would not recommend it.
I guess it would be a 2 hour silent meditation. So,
That will be a very great recording,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if it wants to happen, it will happen because there's still a transmission taking place. There's a transmission taking place every time we're doing this, in whatever scale, however small it may be. Something's transmitting, and it's going to grab whomever is meant to be touched across the world somehow. All of a sudden, they tune into Instagram or YouTube or somehow Facebook, and the video pops in front of them for anyone who's meant to connect to it, because it's magic. It will go and grab the ones who need to be here. That's how it works. See, that's a part of it, that you can trust it. You can trust it, that it you don't have to worry about, am I going to go deeper? Am I going to get to God? Am I going to come to self-realization? Because it's already got you. You can't escape it. There's no way out. I remember I was like in deep confusion. I was in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, and this is like in 1992 or 3. And I fell in love with this. I met this girl at satsang where Papaji was giving, and I fell in love with this girl, and it was all in my head and in my imagination. And all of a sudden, I mean, there was a little love affair was happening, and then all of a sudden, one day, I went to see her, and she said, "I'm leaving. I'm leaving today," and she left, and I was devastated. And I was like down at my last $200. Here I am, started my trip. I'm in India. I started it from Philippines, ended up in India, and I'm want to stay there for 6 months, and I'm 1 month in there, and I'm running out of money, and I have $200 left. I mean, can you imagine being in India with $200 and the fears that's coming? I mean, I was like, so, like, what the hell am I gonna do? Where am I gonna get some money? And I had not been working for 2, 3 years, and so I had no credit with my friends and family anymore because I had borrowed money from everybody, and nobody wanted to give me money anymore. So, and then I fell in love with this girl, and after like a week or 2 weeks of this love affair, she leaves. One day she says, I gotta go. And I'm just devastated, really devastated. And I'm walking around the streets of Lucknow and just like completely bewildered, like no money, broke, heartbroken. What the hell am I gonna do? Just confused as hell. And now imagine 5 days a week we go sit with the master. We're sitting with Papaji. I mean, you go sit with the master, and all your darkness, everything comes out because there's so much light, and you can hide from Papaji. I mean, you cannot hide from the Buddha. He sees everything in you and is exposing everything. Every fear, every desire, every dark corner of you is being exposed completely. So you're naked and raw. I'm just like completely bewildered. I'm just wishing that lightning would strike and kill me right then, or the ground would open up and swallow me. I just want to die. That's all I'm thinking about. And it's like in my head is like there's no way out. No, what am I gonna do? I'm walking on, I don't know, I go downtown Lucknow, I'm walking on the street, I come across a bookstore, I look, and right there's a book sitting there. It says No Way Out by Eugene Krishnamurti. I look, No Way Out by Eugene Krishnamurti. And in that moment, as if somebody just hit me in my head, I was like, that was the lightning that struck me. No Way Out. That was the title of the book. I mean, how synchronized is that? How divinely planned that is. Like in this state that you're going crazy, you come across this book and it says No Way Out. Not J. Krishnamurti, Eugene Krishnamurti. They were cousins. And there was my answer. No way out. So what I did was I went back to my little home that I was renting for $50 a month. And I sat there for 2 weeks in silence. I was just sitting there in silence. I would go in a deep, quiet place inside myself. And then all of a sudden, the fears would come, like, I have no money, I have no money, I'm heartbroken, the girl left. All these emotions would come. And I was like, you know what? Even if I have to die, I'm going to die. I'm going to sit here in silence, and I'm going to trust that I'm going to be either I'm going to be taken care of, or I'm going to die from starvation or heartbreak. So for 2 weeks, 10, 12, 14 hours a day, I'm sitting in a meditative place and I'm just watching, I'm just observing my emotions. And madness and craziness would arise. Like all these emotions, all this heartbreak, all this loneliness, all this abandonment that nobody loves me and I'm left out and I'm broke and I have nothing. And all these feelings and thoughts would come. Desperation. And of course, I had to really budget myself to spend like live off of $2-3 a day. But I had no choice. It was either go shoot yourself. I know you guys are smiling and laughing, but believe me, trust me, in that moment, it was not funny. It was like pure suffering. I was in really suffering. But I decided I'm going to stay with it and go through all my fears and my abandonments and desires and pain and stay with it rather than running away. So I just stayed on it. It's a long story. Obviously, I didn't die. Obviously, I didn't commit suicide. And, but it was very, very interesting to coming across this book saying no way out. So there is no way out, basically. It's do or die. So finally, what happened was after a couple of weeks, the mind started to quiet down. And I was like, okay, I have this chain that I can sell it. I have this camera. I had a little stereo boombox. I said, okay, I can just sell one at a time and just live day by day. So I started doing that. I started to sell whatever I had. And through the mystery of life, then I get a message that the girl sent me, telegram me. We had no phone. There was no cell phone. There was no phone. That I'm in Pune at Osho's ashram. So I immediately got a ticket and went down there to see her. And it never went anywhere with her, but I'm in Pune and I'm broke and I'm around Osho's ashram and ran into these Dutch couple that somehow I gave the woman a healing and she got healed. Anyway, they gave me a place to stay. I'm going to this coffee shop. It was called German Bakery. And I remember for 3-4 days, I go there and I have like 2-3 rupee in my pocket. I have nothing. And I would just go there and sit there. And every day somebody would approach me. I didn't know any people. And you remember one day this German guy came to me and he said, Swami, can I buy you a croissant? Anyway, and he gave me a croissant. Then the next day or next afternoon, somebody else showed up and brought me a glass of orange juice. But somehow existence was taking care of me. I was being fed. So that went on for another 10 days. And then I had an American Express traveler's check. You guys remember traveler's check? It was $100 traveler's check, but I I had forgotten. It was somewhere in one of my notebooks, and I totally had forgotten that it's there. And one day I'm just going through my stuff, and all of a sudden I find the traveler's check for $100, and it was like 3,000 rupee. Oh, I was in, or 4,500 rupees, something like that. Oh, I was in heaven. I was in heaven. So somehow I survived that. All right. So we're those of you who are signed up through the our system, our my website, Zarathustra.tv, and here on Zoom, we're gonna send you a copy of this broadcast as well as the podcast of this event. Uh, Anybody else wants to check me out on my social media pages? Uh, my address is Zarathustra 5D. The website is Zarathustra.tv. And our email address is info@Zarathustra.tv. Feel free to connect with me. Send me an email if you have any questions or you have a topic you want me to talk about. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Sending you lots of love and light. God bless you. Be well and stay in your heart and stay centered. Namaste.